Did you know that by using the principles of the fire triangle when putting out fires, it can be actually useful when thinking about how to support an individual who is in an autistic meltdown? And the reason why I'm saying this is because of a couple of recent experiences that I've had with my daughter. And the most recent was a haircut, and she needed to have her hair cut shorter, and because she was struggling to maintain the length and constantly getting it knots and so on, so she agreed to have her hair shortened to help her to manage her hair more. But unfortunately her hair was cut rather short because of I won't say rather shorter than she would like it to be, because of the amount of knots that she had. So she got into a real distress state. She was really saying a lot of words, and it's really important to listen to what's being said when the child's in that meltdown situation rather than responding to the behaviour. And that'll become apparent in a minute when I talk about the fire triangle. So she had the hair was cut a lot shorter. She felt that she looked ugly, she looked horrible, and all these kind of things. It was very, very focused on image. And so when I start thinking about the fire triangle principles, when you think about how a fire is able to start and continue, fire needs three things. It needs fuel, it needs heat, and it needs oxygen. And if you target any one of these areas, then you can put out a fire. So it's like when you think of a fire and you want to put out a fire, you wouldn't put water on the flames, because the flames will just keep on flickering. You put the water on the root source and you'll cut the fire out. That's because you're depriving it of one of the three areas of the fire triangle. And even more common is birthdays, when we're blowing out candles. How many times have people tried to blow out a candle and it won't blow out? I'm not talking about one of those dodgy prank candles you can get that do that, but sometimes when people are blowing on the candles, it bends first, and that's because they're blowing on the flames. They're not blowing at the root course, which is the wick. If you blow the wick, you'll put it out, because you are actually depriving it of one of the three areas of the fire triangle. So when we think about this in the context of an autistic meltdown, because it does feel like it's burning, I've been in many myself, and you think of the heat as being the emotional intensity, which was definitely displayed in Sophie's responses about her feeling that she looks ugly and so on. That was all fueling her emotional intensity. She was very, very distressed. You think about the fuel, the trigger. The trigger was that she's had her hair cut. Now, the difficulty with that particular trigger, it's going to be difficult to remove without having to stick her hair back in place, which is obviously not possible. So I couldn't really consider the fuel aspect of the fire triangle here. But then the other thing that I do have control over is the oxygen. And oxygen is what keeps the fire burning. And you could see the oxygen as being how we respond to a meltdown. If we respond by attacking the behaviours and so on, we're just going to keep on fueling that fire. The trigger's going to be remaining, the emotional intensity is still going, and we're giving it oxygen. That fire is going to keep on burning. So it's really important that you need to counter that by not looking at the behaviours, seeking out the root causes, which are either going to be the triggers or the heat, and see what you can do. So in the end, although I was already maintaining that calm and supportive tone with Sophie, I did then take a look at the emotional intensity bit, which was the bit that I could help her with. So I googled lots of pictures. I put a Google of world's worst haircuts, and I've got to say there's some very interesting ones, and if you have a few minutes, by all means have a look. And when I started showing Sophie these, I wanted to counter her arguments of her feeling as though her haircut didn't look right. And she looked at some of these haircuts and things, and she found a number of them very, very amusing. Now, because she found them amusing, it was bringing down the heat. It was bringing down the emotional intensity. And that then allowed her to get back into self-regulation. So by my supportive approach through co-regulation and so on. It allowed her then to reduce the heat and get back into self-regulation. So I just thought I'd share that with you as a bit of a tip, something I found that helpful to think about how to not work with not just my own autistic meltdowns, but that of other people. And I always try to look at it from a fire triangle perspective. So hopefully that was useful, and I'll share some more ideas soon.